So please welcome Christine Nowinski to the show. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome, all the way from Buffalo, New York in the snow.
Oh, yes.
And from here, I am in San Diego. It said 73, I think, degrees when I got out of the car this morning. And I was like, it's so hard for me to realize that, I fly for 5 hours to see you, and the weather is so drastic.
I know. And the time zone too. It's like dinner time here. What is it like little afternoon, late
Yeah, it's
afternoon
just
for
two.
you?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know. Different worlds for
Yeah.
sure. But like I was saying before I hit record, I was watching TikTok and you came into my algorithm, I guess, because everything that you talk about is just resonates with me. So I reached out and we made this time work. But in the world that we live in this time of 2026. And I know your world, I mean, I can't wait for you to explain it, but your world is obviously you, you're in my algorithm for a reason because everything you talk about is what I believe. It's just all this, the peeling of the onion. Like we're all like understanding there's so much more to this world. And it's like, for me, once you know, or, if once you stop drinking the Kool-Aid or you see people that are drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, oh my gosh. And it's just it's like we live in two worlds,
Oh my God. Yes.
right?
It's
So why
funny.
don't you explain me? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's just funny because I mean, earlier, even before we jumped on, well, actually, when we jumped on and we were talking about just let it flow. The energy of resonance with you is so strong. When you were talking about the peeling of the onion, literally yesterday, I was peeling an onion and I had just had a spiritual mentorship meeting with my spiritual mentor. And I was thinking about this very concept that you just brought up, the peeling of the onion. And so that resonates so much with me, and I had to share that. But yes, we're living in lots of different crazy realities and different worlds right now. So my name is Christine Nowinski. I am from Buffalo, New York, like you said. My company is called Coming Out Cosmic. I'm on TikTok, Coming Out Cosmic. That is my world, the alien world. So I love to talk about things that are strange and esoteric, although at first I didn't love talking about that kind of stuff because it is so weird. People think that you're literally like crazy. So I guess what I'd ask you is like just knowing that that is the world that I'm tapped into. Is there anything that you wanted to start off with? Because I've got a plethora of stories. My background, I've got so much, but where would you like to flow with this?
Probably start in 2014 when that at the beginning of the journey. I mean, you're what, early 30s right now? Two
Yeah,
babies.
32.
Okay.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So, then in 2014, that's when I started having alien contact. And so at the time I was living in Guanajuato, Mexico, and I'm not surprised that the alien contact actually started there because Guanajuato, Mexico, Mexico in general is very sacred land. There is so much alien contact that happens there. There's the pyramids there, there's Teotihuacan, Tenochtitlan, and then those are just very cosmic sites. So, with my alien contact starting in 2014, that wasn't the very beginning of my awakening, but it was a time where my awakening was like completely accelerated. I actually started awakening back in 2012 when I was introduced to crystals. I feel like a lot of people get into crystals or get into tarot, and that's like the gateway drug, and that was for me. But then for some reason it just turned into alien contact like right away, and I feel like a lot of people are not like on quite that accelerated journey. But I started having really crazy sleep paralysis episodes. Do you know what sleep paralysis is?
Well, you taught me, so you continue
Oh.
and explain it.
So, sleep paralysis can be different for a lot of different people, but essentially, it is the experience of you sleeping and then being completely paralyzed physically, but still having your mind. So, you're conscious of an experience of what's happening around you, but you can't physically move, and it can be extremely terrifying because you don't know what's happening. So, the fear of the unknown taps in, especially if it's like your first episode. And looking back, it's funny because I, in 2014, my first sleep paralysis episode was freaking terrifying. I just remember waking up seeing the bedroom and then seeing like different beings. Like there was actually even like, this is going to sound crazy, but of course, with coming out cosmic, my whole motto is you're not crazy, you're cosmic. So next to me in the bedroom, in that episode of sleep paralysis, I saw like a witch next to me who was like trying to like taunt me. And it was just really scary because I could see these things physically. I could see the bedroom, but I couldn't actually move. So that was the beginning of my sleep paralysis episodes. And then from 2014 on, for 10 plus years, I had had sleep paralysis every single month. And it would follow me. It would be like I'd go to a spa with my friend in Lewiston, New York, and I would have a sleep paralysis episode. I'd sit up in bed and I'd look around and I'd be paralyzed, but then there'd be like something in the room with me. Like I couldn't always see something in the room with me, but I could feel it. And so fast forward to the year 2023, that's when I met my friend Laura Di Piazza, who's a highly psychic alien channeler. And I asked her, I was like, what are these sleep paralysis episodes? And she kind of laughs at me and she's like, oh my gosh, because she started tapping into my higher self and to my alien guides around me who I didn't even know existed. Like I was not into aliens at all. She was like, this is alien contact. And I was like, what do you mean alien contact? And she's like, it is your ET family coming to you and they're working on your energetic body. They're healing your energetic body. But what's happening is there's some sort of glitch in your episodes that's causing sleep paralysis, and you're waking up and they're leaving quickly because they don't want you to be in that fear frequency. So that is when I started then intentionally calling in alien contact when I knew that I was connected, but it had all stemmed back to that sleep paralysis episode in Mexico.
Wow. With that, Laura, I just was looking at her website. And so she helped you understand your galactic, where you came from, right? Like that's one of her things
Yes.
that she did.
So she did, yes. I had a couple other mentors before, Laura, who had also tapped into galactic ties. And then eventually, when you become like when you are in alien contact a lot, you start to learn how to tap into that yourself, which I would highly empower people to learn how to do. But if you are new to this journey, then yes, Laura does tap into galactic origin as well.
And you are from the Butte.
Oh, the Boötes constellation. Well, you did a lot of research. I'm very, wow, I'm
Oh, yeah. No,
honored.
believe me.
Yes.
You've been in
So,
my life for the last
oh my
years, the last
God.
few days.
This is so great. Okay. So initially, I thought that I was from the Boötes constellation. And I say that because years ago, I had a mentor named Shiv. Um, he's no longer with us, unfortunately. He's just needed on the other side right now. He was a monk, a shaman. He would look at your face and he could see your past lives. He was the first person who told me that I come from the Arcturian lineage. Arcturians are
Mhm.
an ET race. And so, upon further research, I learned that Arcturians primarily come from the Boötes constellation. And so that is what I had learned, and it really resonated with me. So I continued with that. Then I had my friend Laura tap into my galactic origin, and she had actually channeled that my soul sparked in the Libra constellation, but very shortly after I had moved over to the Boötes constellation because the Boötes constellation needed more balance of light. So it makes a lot of sense because Libra is the scales of justice, lots of balance. So I went to Boötes, and then from then on, my soul spark actually just resonated mostly with the Arcturian ET lineage.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there's 88.
There's 88 constellations. Yeah. That's per the, oh my God, let's see if I'll remember the name. International Astronomical Association, something like that. It's not quite that, but that's more what Laura had researched. There's 88 official constellations in our sky.
And then within that, there's what stars, like star systems. I mean, it goes further, obviously.
Yeah, they're called objects. And so there's
Okay.
different star systems, there's nebulas, there's galaxies, there's so many different things that astronomers then look into within those constellations.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of a little bit rewind. So your dad, like that is a cool story because you grew up Catholic
Hmm.
and you know, that wouldn't be probably part of your conversation growing up is your dad saw this alien or a draconian.
Right.
in real. So will you explain that and how you and your dad have really created this like neat conversation about aliens?
Yeah, of course. So when I first started coming out cosmic, literally the company and that, I guess, phrase means to me coming out publicly talking about alien experiences, which is what I aim for other people to do as well to normalize alien contact. When I first started coming out cosmic, I told my dad about it and I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I've been contacted by aliens. And I was a little bit nervous to talk to him about it because obviously I was always a little bit of a black sheep in the family, but I wasn't quite this level of black sheepness, if you can understand that. And so when I told him about my TikTok, I showed him an ET um like a reference guide. It's called the ET Almanac by Craig Campbell Basso. And I was like, this is my new interest now. This is what I'm talking about. He was like, hey, give me that. So he grabs the ET Almanac and he's flipping through the pages and he's like, oh, I've seen one of these before. And he points to a draconian, which is an extraterrestrial race. And I was like, what do you mean you've seen one of these before? And he's like, well, back in the 80s when I worked for the National Guard, I was patrolling land and it was about 2 or 3 a.m. East Fishkill, New York. And he was going up a really steep hill in a vehicle and he stopped because he saw this thing come out of the woods. And he's like, Christine, this thing was freaking massive. He says that it was between like 8 to 11 feet tall. It was hard for him to tell because your body kind of goes into a shock when you see something that is unfamiliar. He said that this thing looked like a dragon, but it wasn't a dragon, it was a draconian. And so he said it looked like a dragon because it had a super long snout. It was bipedal, so standing on two legs. It had arms, very muscular. It was wearing a uniform, which ETs typically do, actually. He couldn't remember too much if it had a tail. He thinks that it did. It didn't have wings. And he said that the thing stunk. It had a horrible stench like death, like sulfur. And when he saw it, they locked eyes and then it ran away. And so from that point on, my dad had never told anybody about it because he didn't want to sound crazy. You know, I think it's a very generational thing as well for my dad's generation to be a little bit more tight-lipped on things that are out of the norm. And so later he found out through talking with somebody who lived near that hill. He found out that that hill is actually a place where they do modern day sacrifices of animals. And so that energy is just extremely negative and very dark. And that is typically where draconians are mostly found in that dark energy, although there's good and bad in all species. And so, of course, when my dad told me about this experience, we started talking about aliens on TikTok together with that father-daughter dynamic. And it's been very interesting because he still is very much, I would say, within that religious programming. Like he's breaking free because he still references the Bible. He still believes a lot of that rhetoric, but he is awakening more and more. And it's so beautiful, I think, for us to see.
Yeah, oh, for sure. You've done your QHHT and you follow Dolores Cannon, and I love her so much. When you go back into your past lives, what do you see and how have you been able to make sense of it and what you're living now and why you chose to come here as Christine and this life?
Yeah, that is a really great question. Wow. Okay. So, because it's taking me back to that session. I had my quantum healing hypnosis therapy session in January 2024. I met with a level 3 practitioner, Holly Duckworth in Durango, Colorado. I love her. She actually studied under Dolores Cannon. So I very much recommend her for people who are looking for a session. And when she put me under, the very first lifetime that I went into was a galactic lifetime and I was a red alien. I was like this, I would say maybe like 5 feet tall red alien, very typical looking with the big eyes. And I was living in, it was a different planet. It was a planet that looked more red. I mean, one could say maybe it was Mars. I have no idea what it was, but it was definitely not Earth. And in that lifetime, what they do in QHHT is they fast forward you to a moment that was really important for your soul to remember and to know so that you can integrate that into this current lifetime. And so I was fast forwarded to um it's so crazy because I like feel emotional thinking about it. So I know that within my soul, like this is real and this is what I saw was actually happening because I'm getting the chills. I was taken to a moment in that lifetime where there was a whole community of aliens. That's how I can explain. Like they just all looked completely different. They weren't all red like me. There were tall ones, like just completely different. And there was like this almost like a an altar or like a shrine that we were all standing around, and there was a human baby that they were taking to this shrine to then be literally lifted up, I don't know, into space. Like I don't know where it went into from that planet, but it was like a really emotional, like letting go, like, okay, you can do this, goodbye, like you have a mission. It's important for you to do this work. And so my QHHT practitioner asked my higher self, why is it important for Christine to see this? Because I actually like saw it clairvoyantly. And my higher self said it was important for me to know where I come from. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, what?
Wow.
So, yeah. And it's just important for me in this lifetime to know that I am a galactic soul, a star seed. Some mainstream people say, I believe that you are. I believe that most of your listeners are. I believe that most humans are. We just have to remember where we come from.
Right. And why wouldn't you be from a galactic origin? What sets out
Depends.
different?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on what the soul chooses. Everything depends on what the soul chooses. So I believe that once we spark off of source, like think of like the Big Bang Theory, like we all sparked off of something. Once we sparked, we could choose to have our first lifetime as more of a galactic being, like on a different planet, or maybe we could choose to go straight to Earth and be an Earth soul. And so it just depends on what your soul wants to experience.
And how do you look at time? Because everything's happening all at once.
hmm Yeah, I think that within our 3D reality, as we're experiencing it right now with listeners on the podcast, with us talking, I think that time is linear within the 3D and we abide by those rules because we think it, we create it, we believe it, we live it. But we live in a quantum reality, is what I think is the ultimate truth. And so I think that time does not actually exist. I think that the lifetime of me being that red alien is actually happening and playing out right now as we're speaking. But my consciousness is choosing to tap into this lifetime right now and to pay attention to this lifetime as Christine.
Yes. Oh, I believe that's how I see it too. So you have two babies like within a year, like I heard one thing where you're 8 months pregnant and you're carrying your 1-year-old boy. And so
hmm
that came in quick. I have so many like girls in their 30s, friends that are pregnant right now. So when I was listening to you talk about that and how the this planet, all these babies are coming in explain that because I see it here just in my little circle of community, all
Oh
these
my
pregnancies.
gosh. We have won the lottery by being here on Earth at this time. This is truly what I believe. I think that souls are lined up waiting to experience Earth during this great awakening as a human. And so it's not uncommon to find that a lot of people are having babies right now because I believe that there's so many souls who want to experience this. This is like incredible. Like the Earth, the vibration is rising. People are waking up. Like we're coming back to ourselves in the most beautiful soul way possible, and souls want to experience this. So it's funny because I'm actually a triplet, and so
You are? Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, when me and my brothers saw an opening, we all ran towards that opening and bombarded my mom, and so you might actually see a lot of multiple births during this time. My best friend just found out that she's pregnant. I mean, I truly just believe it's because the souls want to experience Earth right now.
So when you have two brothers, triplets, three of you, so how does that work in your mind? How the three of you, were you from the same galactic origin? Was your spark coming from the same place? How does that work?
Oh, that's you asked the greatest questions, Ashley. Wow. Because they're challenging, but I feel like I understand exactly what you're trying to ask here. And so when it comes with okay, when it comes to my brothers, we are so freaking different. Like you would never know that we're even siblings, let alone triplets. So I think there's a possibility that yes, we have traveled together before and we've experienced different lifetimes before. I don't actually think that we're from the same soul family or from the same galactic origin. And so galactic origin stemming back to the soul sparking in a specific constellation, which is something that your listeners can tap into with the galactic origin experience that I have. But I think that because we're just so different and feeling into it intuitively, I think that they're from a different galactic origin. And it goes back to what the soul chooses. I think that we do tend to travel in packs when we want to, but then there's certain lifetimes where we're like, you know what? I'm done with you. I want to learn different lessons. So you go there and I go here and we'll meet back up some other time.
Huh. Oh, that's so cool. And see, I did so much research, but that the triplet thing never showed up in my research. So I
You
love
know
being
what?
surprised.
It's because I forget that I'm a triplet because we're so different. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Funny. But I look at your eyes and when I look at your videos on your reels on TikTok and it's like mesmerizing. And it's like, no wonder she is like focused on aliens. Like I can see it in your eyes and the lightness, right? Like there's
Yeah.
something that you say, even eye contact or explain that. And I also want you to go into that sparked my memory of when you were either in the Dollar Tree or the grocery store and the NPCs and the people that can't look you in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
so into this. So I go to the grocery store. It's kind of like a game. And when
Oh,
I
it
was
is.
listening to you talk about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And I'm walking around and I'm very intentional about, I love to say hello and, I know all the cashiers. They're like, I'm there basically every day. And, but it's just like when you started talking about that experience in the grocery store, the NPCs, or the nose picking community or something that you called it because you can't use those words on TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, and then the Dollar Tree, like thinking of people that, I don't know, go for it. Those are the two stories that really caught my attention.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go, let's talk about the eyes because I mean, I feel like it's just a common phrase that people say like the eyes are the window to the soul. And so I always say that like one of the first ways that you can tell if something's a little bit different or a little bit off about somebody is through their eyes. And through eye contact. Now, I'm going to backtrack here and go back into my QHHT session because one of the things that I have found that I don't actually really like doing is making eye contact with people in public. And my higher self had said that it's because I'm afraid that through eye contact, those people are actually taking my power away.
Hmm.
And my higher self had recommended that no, you don't have to not look people in the eyes anymore. Like when we're having conversation, like I can look at people in the eyes. It's just public, like going out in public. I'm very like get in and get out. I don't want to deal with all those different energies. My higher self had suggested you need to understand when people are actually trying to take away your different powers or trying to siphon energy from you through your eyes. And so it is recommended that I start actually looking at people in their eyes more in public. It's just something that's uncomfortable for me. I don't know if it's a past life issue. And the other night, I actually had a dream that I was very intentionally looking at people in their eyes. So now I know this is a message from my higher self to actually follow through with what they had suggested. So that's what I think about the eyes is like it's very intense. It helps people to really connect on a soul level with what they're looking at, and then that's when you can determine who and what you're looking at. So then going into the story about the Dollar Tree, oh my God, this story got over 1 million views on TikTok. And I was
What?
like, yeah, I was very surprised by it because I think it just really resonated with a lot of people. Or, I mean, half the audience was like, girl, you're crazy. And I'm like, okay, tell me something I don't know. You know,
Right.
so, which we're not crazy, we're cosmic here. So, one day I was walking into the dollar store and I was about 8 months pregnant at this time. Oh, and I had my 1-year-old on my hip. So
Right.
I was very like incapable of doing anything much in that moment. And I had opened up the door for this family of three. It was a mother and her two children, a son and a daughter. And I opened up the door and it was just an odd interaction. what happened next. Because as I'm standing there, I've got the door open. I'm like out of breath. My 1-year-old's in my arm. The three just kind of like shuffle out and they don't really look at me. They don't say thank you. And that's what triggered me because I'm a big like, hey, mind your P's and Q's, like say thank you. Like, what? This is just weird. And what really struck me about them wasn't just how they didn't seem to be in tune with like typical human manners. Like, I'm obviously very pregnant. You can't at least like say thank you. Which whatever, that could be my own ego coming through. But what really struck me was their eyes and their energy. And so when it comes to discerning different energies, you really have to trust your intuition. You have to just trust that if somebody feels off, it is because they are. They feel off for a reason. Trust your intuition always. So, and I'm getting the chills as I say that, which is confirmation chills from my higher self that yes, listen to that message. And so when I looked at their eyes, they were so unique. Like I know we talk about how my eyes are really light, but their eyes were so light that they were glowing. Glowing like in physical reality. You don't see that too often. It's not like the sun was coming through really bright. It was just so bizarre and so odd. And that coupled with the cosmic energy that I got from them. The fact that they walked out of the dollar store like without anything, they didn't have any bags. And I know that a lot of aliens like to just go into our society and observe humanity. So I was like, maybe they were just observing humanity because that's such a typical thing to do is to go shopping at a dollar store, see what kind of humans they could pick up there. And after that interaction, I had to post a video on TikTok about it because I'm like, their eyes, their energy, my intuitive hit, like they were actually alien, is what I truly believe.
Right. Okay, now go to the grocery store.
Oh,
The NPC.
okay, different. I'm trying to think exactly
It
the
was just where you were trying to explain to people what NPCs are, because like I always think of, you know, like when I said at the beginning, like I'm living in a world, someone else, they're definitely not living in my world because of what they are talking about or, but you're talking about this. Do you get it?
I know what you're talking. I know
Okay.
which video you're referencing now. Yes. Okay. This was actually a dream that I had.
Ah, a
Was
dream. Yes, yes, yes.
It was a parallel reality that I had tapped into, but the same goes into our 3D reality as we're experiencing it right now. The same is it's the same kind of concept of the lesson that I'll teach. So I had a dream. I'm trying to think back of exactly what he said. I was in a grocery store and I was standing behind this guy, and I think it was a daughter. And I was like talking to him. I think I said something like, "Oh, isn't this like really weird to be here in this reality?" And he said to me, "Oh, this isn't your reality. This is my reality." He said
Right.
something along the lines of that, if I'm remembering, because that dream happened a while ago.
Yes, that's what you said. Yes.
And so then I asked my friend Laura to tap in a little bit more to see exactly what that dream was. And she said that I was actually tapping into a parallel reality where it wasn't something that was a true dream. It was actually another me in another 3D parallel reality. And there's literally actually a guy that had told me that I was tapping into his reality. And so it just begs the question of what is real and what is
Right.
reality? What is an NPC, for example? So I did call them nose picker community because that was getting banned on TikTok for some reason, that acronym. And so you have to wonder which people are actually just dreaming themselves into your reality.
Right.
Is the person in front of you at the grocery store really there, or are they actually part of a different 3D reality? So you could call that person, like there's a lot of different definitions of NPC. You could call them an NPC, which stands for non-player character. Other people have different interpretations of what it stands for as well. And that could mean that, like, they're not actually playing in your reality, they're playing in a different reality. So that's one way to look at an NPC. Another way to look at an NPC is what Dolores Cannon calls a backdrop person.
Yes.
And a backdrop person is literally just like, it's almost like a figment of your reality. You create it, you manifest it into your reality, but that person's not actually like real, doesn't actually like have a soul or a consciousness as if I'm remembering correctly what Dolores says about it. And then there's another channeler named Elizabeth April, and she talks about how an NPC is actually just somebody who's on a different timeline. They're not in the same vibration as you, but they're close enough in vibration where you can actually perceive them. And they seem like they're not all there because they're literally tapped into a different timeline. And then there's another interpretation. This is my last one, I promise, because this like spiritual jargon is like I love talking about it. There's another interpretation of which I don't actually agree. A lot of people say that people who are still very much unawakened, very much living in the 3D reality, are NPCs, and they use it as a derogatory term, like, oh, you're just an NPC because you haven't awakened yet. I don't agree with that at all. They do have a soul, they do have a consciousness, they're just not awake yet. And that's my diatribe on NPCs.
Yeah, I love the way Dolores kind of taught me a lot about the backdrop people, and that was fascinating. Okay, I want to. There's so many things I want to ask you, but I want to go to reptilians
Oh
because
yeah.
I think that's what drew me to you because of my onion peeling, and I did peel an onion last night too. When you told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, so did I. But I'm down into the middle of that. I'm really deep and that onion's barely there. But when you were explaining the reptilians, the government, the tunnels, um, I want to open up these doors just so you can go wherever you want to go. There were things that you just take that, go from there. I don't want to keep
Oh yeah.
layering and layering.
The reptilians. The first question I always get about the reptilians are, what are reptilians? So let's start there because I think a lot of people don't realize that reptilians are an extraterrestrial race. And there's oh my gosh, there's so much. Okay, let me go in through like the important parts that like let's say there's a newbie listening, they have no idea what a reptilian is. I'll go through that. Okay. Reptilians are ET. They are here on Earth because they think that the Earth is theirs. So now we go back into a little bit of galactic history. There's a lot of different interpretations of galactic history. This is the one that I've heard. This is the one that resonates with me. Way, 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 way back, years, 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 years ago. There is Earth, okay? And Earth was and is so beautiful, so filled with resources, so much gold, particularly, that a lot of ET races were called to go to Earth to mine the gold and different other precious metals. And one of the races is called the Anunnaki. Have you heard of them?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So they get a bad reputation as well. But anyway, so they came to Earth to mine resources and they were like, you know what? I don't want to have to mine these resources ourselves. Like, we have to create a slave race to do this for us. So, this is where history gets a little bit mixed up because sometimes people are like, oh, the humans were already there, or did the Anunnaki truly just create us like right from the beginning? Take whichever resonates. But essentially, what the Anunnaki ended up doing was, yes, manipulating human DNA so that we are more docile and so that we would be more slave-like to them, so that we would do their bidding of like doing this mining for them. Now, the reptilians saw this and they're like, oh, that's super interesting. Like, we want a slave race too, because they're more low vibrational. Not always, there's high vibes in all species as well, but the reptilians wanted a piece of this pie. So they came to Earth, they started messing around with the humans as well. Now enter in higher dimensional entities. Some say it was the Galactic Federation, others say that it's just like a different group of aliens. Anyway, higher dimensional entities with humanity's benevolence in mind came through, and they were like, no, 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 humans are here on Earth right now to evolve. You cannot disrupt their evolution. Like, they can't be your slave race. What are you doing? And so what they ended up telling the reptilians and the Anunnaki is that the human race has to be left alone. You either have to leave Earth, go back to your planet, go back where you came from, or you have to go underground. So now we enter in all the different conspiracies of the underground tunnels, etc. Yes, the reptilians are under there. This is truly what I believe, and they've been under there for a very, very, very long time. And now they're not allowed to come up and to like mess with humanity. I guess like face to face, but they are able to, sometimes they do that, but they are able to influence us from the underground. And so this is when you get the different conspiracies of, oh my gosh, reptilians are actually the ones who are in charge of the earth. They're in charge of humanity. They're the ones causing a lot of disruption. And truthfully, if you look at it from the reptilian perspective, it's because they're pissed. They're like, we came to Earth, like this is our land, and we wanted a piece of that pie. Like they just feel a sense of ownership over this Earth, is what I believe. One of the stories, I guess, that resonates with me. And since then, they've been messing around with humanity, to say the least. I mean, they are influencing us through the media, they're influencing us through our clothing choices, they're influencing us in the school system, the banking system, and they're doing this from a frequency and vibrational level that we're not even aware of.
Right. Okay, now Illuminati and then Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, those are, yeah. You watched, you did, I'm very impressed. You did a lot of your research. I appreciate that. Who are the Illuminati? Okay, so I don't, you know how a lot of people get into very much the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all the symbolism and all that stuff. That was a part of my awakening journey for sure. I went down those rabbit holes like you had. I started learning a little bit about the Illuminati, and it just felt so low vibrational to me that I actually stopped learning about it. So I'll like touch base on what it is because I think it's important for people to have the knowledge that this exists. But if you dwell in this type of
Yes.
frequency, you're only going to encourage the feeding of that frequency.
Oh, totally. Oh my gosh, that totally struck me when you said that. It is so true. I can't do
Yeah.
that either. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't realize it was that reason, but I can't
Yeah.
do that. Like I watch these videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even do that. It's just like that's such low vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just too high vibe to really even
Yes.
tolerate it, to be honest. And that's a beautiful thing because that's where we're all raising up to that point in evolution together. And so the Illuminati essentially is a secret society. A lot of people think that they are reptilian. Some people say that it's not all reptilian. There's other things. There's draconians involved, which is basically a higher upper echelon version of the reptilians. It's also a lizard person, let's be honest. And so they are the ones who are truly in power. Like, if you look at reptilians as a race, not every single reptilian is a part of the Illuminati. There's some that are working for the good of humanity. And then there's others that are just completely neutral and they're just here for the show to see what happens on Earth right now. And then there's others that are more negative who are a part of this association, the Illuminati. I believe that the Illuminati has people in it like from the royal family, and there's different celebrities within it. And I believe that these people literally join the Illuminati without realizing what they're joining until it's too late. Do you want me
Right.
to elaborate more? Do you have like a specific
Well,
question?
well, I just what I thought was interesting is I look of course have looked at all that stuff, but when you talked about Eddie Murphy and he was the only one that loved him, like had self-love and
Mhm.
that didn't buy into that.
Yeah, so that was a video that I had recorded after I had watched a Netflix series about Eddie Murphy. And so it is on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's essentially about his journey as an actor and as a comedian. And something that really struck me that he said was he had referenced something more shadowy. I don't know verbatim if he had said, "Oh, he didn't say like the shadow government, but he said like something to the effect of, I never went along with the shadow, or I never went along with, oh my gosh, I wish that I remember. It was around like the 50-minute mark. I don't know why I recall
Oh,
that. It's
wow.
like
Okay.
I never went along with let's say the shadow because I knew within myself that I could do it for myself. I knew that I could rise to fame for myself because I have so much self-love. And so what that triggered in me was a teaching that I had actually learned from Elizabeth April, where she talks about the celebrities and how they actually become a part of the Illuminati. And they do this through different types of rituals, but in order for them to even be a vibrational match for those rituals, they have to be at an extremely low frequency, like an extremely low, they hate themselves, they're self-loathing. I'm not saying this is the case for all celebrities, and not all celebrities have risen to fame through the Illuminati. There are some high vibrational ones as well. But what Eddie Murphy said about having self-love just pointed to the fact that perhaps in his case, he rose to fame in a more high vibrational way, where he had a lot of self-love and high vibration. He was actually able to manifest that type of fame and fortune into his life instead of taking the low vibrational way, which is literally making a deal with the Illuminati, with these reptilian souls. And you can't even do that unless you're on such a low frequency where you'd be resonating with that type of energy anyway.
Right. Okay. So you were talking about the NFL, and I was watching the football game, and the same thing. Once you know, you know. I'm like talking to my husband about it. Will you give me your take on that?
Oh my God. Well, first, I know that people know that I'm from Buffalo. So, Buffalo Bills Mafia is very strong here. I'm not much of a sports fan at all. Actually, I kind of get triggered when my husband watches sports and he gets so emotionally involved into it.
Oh,
It
wow.
actually kind of pisses me off because I'm like, they're feeding off of your energy. Like, stop watching this. But anyway, if sports bring people high vibrational joy, that's totally fine. Don't worry about energy siphoning and stuff like that. But anyway, when it comes to the NFL, there have been just so many different situations where the game seems unbelievable and it seems fake and it seems fixed. And it's not just through watching the game and seeing an unbelievable call would somebody think that. It's also through feeling into it intuitively. Kind of like what you said. Like once you feel into it, you just know that there's something off. Like it's not truthful. You know that it's a ruse, it's a game. And so the last Bills game actually was against the Denver Broncos, and there were like some unbelievable calls where it was such an eye roll. And I'm not into sports at all. But and so like I don't have that emotional attachment of wanting the
Right.
Bills to win. But I was like, this is just so fake. And so I posed the question to my audience on TikTok, what do you think about the NFL being fixed? And so many people were pouring in, and they're like, oh my God, totally fixed. Like, and what
Oh,
I believe happens is they actually make different types of scripts. There's actually been NFL players who have admitted to this and
yeah.
then went back and said, oh no, never mind. But they actually, I believe, make different scripts so that certain people and certain teams can be in that energy of power when they win a game. And so, what I predict and what I think is going to happen is they're paving a way for a Patriots win right now. Um,
Okay.
I, I say that because that's partly what my husband believes, and he's a little bit more knowledgeable about like what the games are doing right now. But I just think that there's a certain team, certain people who want to have that power. Um, because the Super Bowl is super energy, like energetic. A lot of these celebrities get a ton of benefit to our detriment from those types of games. And so, all in all, I definitely think that the NFL is fixed.
Right. I know. It is the same thing. Once you know, you know. I can't. And I loved that my husband was even being receptive when we were watching. I go, look, that foul wasn't even, or the way he threw it, like that was such a joke.
Right.
So now he's getting to that place. Okay, so imprinting. We're almost done. Are we good for like
Oh,
10
you're right.
minutes?
Totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want the babies to be missing their mama.
No,
Uh,
they're
Imprinting, and I never heard that about the Akashic records and how that people will love to hear this.
Oh, the different soul imprinting.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a interesting topic that's a little bit hard to um it's a little bit hard to understand. So I'll try to explain it in like super basic terms because when I was reading it, I first read it in The Keepers of the Garden by Dolores Cannon, and I was so amazed by this concept of imprinting. And I'm not talking about imprinting such as with Twilight and like Bella. Do you know that movie, Twilight, with Bella
No.
the vampires? Okay. So for audience listeners who know, it's not that type of imprinting, it's soul imprinting. And so, what I learned in that book is that essentially, in order for a soul to prepare for a lifetime, if they have never had that specific lifetime before, they can have an imprinted life. They can experience an imprinted life. And what that means is if I am an Arcturian being and I go to the Akashic records and I decide that I want to have a lifetime as a human, but I've never had a lifetime as a human before, I can pull out a book. This is more of like an analogy. I can pull out a book of a human and I can use that book and I can experience that lifetime as an imprint so that I'm better prepared for a human lifetime when I do actually come to Earth. Because if I did not have that imprinted life, what would happen is, as an Arcturian being coming through as a human in this lifetime, I could have an extremely hard time adjusting just to being a human. So, what happens with imprinting, this is so fascinating. And Dolores Cannon talks about this as well, and how a lot of people believe that they have been somebody in a past life. Like there are people who swear that they've been Elvis Presley, Cleopatra. They swear they've seen it. It resonates as so true for them. What typically happens in that case is, yes, these people have lived that lifetime. All of these people have lived that lifetime as Cleopatra. Yes, that is possible. There's only one true soul who has lived the lifetime of Cleopatra, however, and all the other souls have just lived that imprinted life, which is still experience for them, but it's not the true life of Cleopatra. So that's why there's like a lot of people who say that they are and they truly believe it. And people will be like, oh my God, you're crazy. But it's possibly because they had lived an imprinted life and they are having memories of that imprinted life, but it wasn't actually them.
Right. Got it. Yeah, that's fascinating. Why would that Arcturian even want to come to Earth? Like, what is the draw?
Experience. Oh, and another thing too, food. The food
Oh,
here is, I mean, I know that most of our food's filled with chemicals, but if you're an Arcturian being, the food is very different. You can enjoy some mint chocolate ice cream if you want, some pizza. Um, a lot of times, galactic beings come to Earth to experience the extreme polarity, which sounds crazy. Like, why would you want to experience super high highs and super low lows? Well, it's because from where they come from, it's just it's more like neutral. The dimension is more neutral. They don't get to have that experience of like super low lows, and it's like intriguing for them. And so you look at certain people, and I believe that we all choose our lives, we choose experiences that we go through. I believe that we even choose traumatic experiences as well. And when you choose those traumatic experiences, a lot of pushback people have is like, why the heck would somebody choose this? And it's like, well, because you are so much more than you, Ashley. You are so much more than you, Christine. You are this soul who wants to experience these things for your own evolution. And so that's one of the reasons why you would choose a traumatic event, because you want to experience it. And sometimes it has a lot to do with like karma and releasing karma and stuff like that. So an Arcturian being would simply come and be human because they just want to try it out, I guess.
but like when you think of, your soul's origin as the boon, what is it called? Boon,
Oh, the Boteas.
Buteus.
Hmm.
So you were a Buteus. I never heard that before. And you were with them. I'm just as a like just looking at it that way. You were with the Buteus
Being.
people,
Yeah.
beings, and you're like like I'm gonna go down and I need to go to Earth because I want to learn whatever. I'm gonna be Christine and bring maybe the alien world when we're gonna start talking about it more. I mean, I interviewed Elizabeth April like 4 years ago.
You did? Oh, so cool.
Yeah, but it's like I was thinking when you were talking about her, like it wasn't. It was kind of like so. In 4 years, it's gone to like from 0 to 1 million.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
so when I'm thinking about when you're explaining her and how I used to follow her and was interested in all that, now it's just like we talk about it all the time. I mean, it's just nonstop. Well, probably because of my algorithm and what I'm interested in, obviously. But when you explain your Buteus or origin, can you go back? Like, would Laura be able to tell you, like, yeah, you've had so many lives on Earth and you've been like, you crave being here, or you just wanted this one time to come? How does that work?
Oh yeah. So absolutely you can go through a channeler such as Laura and receive that information. We can also access this ourselves. I think that it all starts with the belief of, oh my gosh, I am so much more than just this human in this lifetime. I have been other things and I use my free will, I choose to access these different lifetimes. And over time, once you start your own practice of, usually it comes through in meditation when you can see different past lives and stuff like that, you can start seeing your past lives and it'll start resonating. So, although I do recommend channelers if you're curious and that'll like plant some seeds on your journey, I do really want to empower people to take this journey with themselves and within themselves because we all have this ability of accessing these past lives and figuring out, like, okay, what lifetime was this? What lifetime was that? And I actually have a tip, a tip if you wanted to hear it of how to do it.
I would love a tip.
Okay, perfect. So back to my mentor Shiv, the one who lived in India. He literally lived in like a cave for like a week in just like pure darkness. So like this is like beautiful content, beautiful information that I got from him. He suggests that if you want to be able to access past versions of yourself, there's actually a couple of things that he suggests. I'll go with this first practice first. He told me to meditate in a closet with no clothes on for 30 days. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
Shiv, you're crazy. And so I'm not saying 30 days like with like you take breaks. So let me explain this a little bit more. He was like, go into a closet, make sure that there's sensory deprivation. What that means is no sound, no light, no nothing. He suggests no clothing either because our clothing actually holds a lot of energy. And so if you can get into a closet space that doesn't have a lot of stuff in there, like that is most ideal. But the idea is to be as like pure in our 3D energetic form as we can be so that we have a very clear channel. And so when I went in the closet, I literally duct taped the corners and I duct taped where light would be coming through. And I did this, I practiced with certain time limits because especially if somebody's newer to meditation, it's going to be really hard to like sit in a closet for an hour. So for my 30 days, I practiced in increments for like 5, 10, 15. Eventually, I worked my way up to an hour of sitting in the closet, completely deprived of anything sensory. And I began to see a lot of different past lives. And what comes through to you, you just really have to trust and believe, especially if you set that intention before the 30-day closet challenge, which we should do this. We should trademark it, right? See
Yeah,
how
we
many people
should.
want to do it. So if you set the intention that you are shown your past lives, you will be shown your past lives. Like, trust that. And so I had seen a lot of different wild past lives and I actually had I experienced a past life where I was in the Holocaust. Unfortunately, I don't know how much because I know that there's so many things going on in the news about this. So I'll just kind of say this in a way that I can. I was like in one of the ovens, if that makes, sense. So that lifetime still affects me today in the way that I breathe in heat. So I was shown that. I was shown different lifetimes where I was like a blue being, so Arcturian. And that's what I'd recommend for people is the 30-day closet challenge if they feel called to that. Another thing that is recommended is staring at yourself in a mirror with like low lighting and just waiting until your eyes kind of glaze over and your face kind of morphs, which it will because your eyes will get tired and you'll get a little bit lazy. You will start seeing what you looked like in those past lives as well. So those are two practices that people can take.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Of course.
Tell us. as we end here, like what you're doing, how do people to find you, um, what you're like. I also want to know, as a mom, like a new mom, like what your intention is raising those babies.
Oh, yeah. Oof. That's a great question. My intention with my babies is just to raise them to be amazing, respectful, high vibrational human beings. I want for them to understand that they're also not just human beings. I want for them to understand from a more spiritually awakened perspective that there's so much more than that. And so I love that that's what you teach too, conscious parenting and working with teenagers and kids. I think that I'll have to tap more into your content and learn more from you about that kind of stuff and mindset because I just want them to be conscious, aware, and good people. That is my intention. And so, for anybody who's interested in learning more about my stories or learning more about Coming Out Cosmic, that is my platform, Coming Out Cosmic, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I have a podcast myself, and I go a little bit deeper into my wild stories with the mission of sharing my crazy story so that people feel more safe in sharing theirs. I also have a community where people can come and talk about their alien experiences because a lot of people don't feel safe doing this. So I have a school community in my link in bio. And then my biggest project that I'm working on, and you've referenced it a lot, is with the galactic origin experience. If people are interested in knowing where their soul sparked, what constellation they come from, so that they can deep dive into their cosmic heritage, I offer the galactic origin experience, which channels that information for you. And you get a beautiful crystal bracelet that your higher self chooses so that you can use that bracelet to actually connect with your ET races even more. So that's a little bit that's just a little bit of what I'm doing. Oh, and I'm raising two under two. Trying to survive.
Yeah, great. Like when I was learning more about you and understanding, like being at your place of parent of being a mom and all this new things, a newborn, basically, and a barely probably walking. Um, but it's like so cool to watch you still develop and expand your what's really interesting to you, and like just even doing this with me for an hour, like, and knowing that you have your friend watching them, and just like it's going to show them so much of mom is really needing to share her light, and it's a neat. I just look at parenting and I look at different ways of how people, their intentions, and where my intentions were. And didn't have my girls till I was 37 and 40. So I was an older mom, but you know, in these days, especially raising highly vibrational, the DNA is probably all the way to, lit up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole different experience. And I think my girls are 17 and 19, and where I'm at with them, we've, we've peeled the onions. We've shifted so much lately, and we shift with our knowing and our intuition so much. And watching that and like making them aware that they know they're so much more powerful than what the society has, dumbed them down to be.
Oh, 100%.
But the way that all these moms that and I know that are getting ready to birth these babies, it's going to take a mom, a soul. And I know these little babies picked everybody that's having these babies, but to really like be awake and be intentional and take the blinders off and live in, because these kids are so much more. They know more. They came down to they're our teachers, and to give that to them. And I don't know, but it's such a passion of mine to watch parents that are awake, that understand that their kids are here they're their biggest teachers, and to not dumb them down and to not keep the hamster wheel going, and put the stick in and let's shift and show the intuition. Where is it guiding you? Let them guide. Be the parents that say, okay, that's what you want to do. I do that with my girls. You want to, that's an interest. Well, okay, let's do it. I'm not questioning it.
Yeah. You're such an inspiration with all of that. And your girls are beautiful. Oh my gosh, they're like your twins.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. And I tell you one thing that I'll definitely not do, and no shade to anybody who does choose this way, because I think that it is a very real reality for some people, but I am choosing not to like put my kids in public school. Any of
No.
the systems that we have been raised in, like that is just not going to happen. So I think that's important for conscious parents to consider too, is as we're growing and evolving, how can we explode out of these systems so that we can make a brighter future for our children who, yeah, they have these missions to keep everything high vibrational. It's
Right.
beautifully put.
And it's interesting, and I'm saying this on, so everyone's listening to this, but I want to share this. And, Presley, she's a junior in high school, has always said, Mom, I want to homeschool a mom. I mean, since I can remember in elementary school, just not, this is not for me, Mom. And of course, well, I always say drink the Kool-Aid, but, I'm just doing what we're told to do. The hamster wheel keeps moving. And now we hit this last 2 weeks ago, getting ready to hit second semester. And she said it all winter break. I cannot go back there. I cannot go back there. And I said, honey, like you have half left. Like at least get through your junior year and then we'll talk about it. She was determined. She did a PowerPoint presentation for us. And then Richard wasn't on board. And he's like, you know what? He's not that there. He hasn't peeled all those layers.
Mhm.
But we listened. And then I said, why don't we just tell her that if we get our money, because it's a private school, if we get our money back, then she can, we'll find another way of doing this online school, right? Oh, sure enough, Monday comes, Mom, you better call the school because they would start on Tuesday, the first day back from this teachers had on Monday, right? There was no students there. Long story short, call, sure, you can get all your money back today if you sign the waiver before 5 o'clock. If
Oh my
she
God.
if she walked on campus tomorrow, she wouldn't get any money back. And she looked at me and she goes, Mom, I did it.
Oh.
And I was like, you sure did, you little stinker. Now we got to call your dad.
Oh no, that is so funny.
So she did it.
She knows.
She
Good for
does. And
her.
she's living her best life this last 2 weeks of her being online and living and doing internships. And they do pageants if you've watched my Instagram, but,
Beautiful.
preparing for that, doing your interview lessons and singing lessons and doing the things that make her happy, waking up happy.
Right. Yeah.
And we listened to that. And if I hadn't that Tuesday morning when I woke up and if I saw her in that uniform getting ready for school and I didn't really let her, that didn't work out, I would have been taking a moment in her life where she had the moment to choose
Mhm.
and her intuition was guiding her and I would have taken that away. So my message to so many parents is they know more than you know and you're not being a bad parent by not sticking to the rules or like doing the thing that everyone thinks is right. I said, Presley, you're starting a trend. She had so many people reach out. Can I get the website to the online school? But it's like,
Oh wow.
it just like so that's so new in my life, that it's just so cool to watch and observe a child who already saw the truth and saw this like waste of time
Yeah.
of the learning of what she was learning, not even relevant to life of her life right now. Like when we learned, I mean, what, 200 years ago, they were learning the same thing, but, but to watch firsthand as a mom, someone that got to choose and to see the magic in that, it's priceless.
Oh my God. It's got to feel so beautiful and heartwarming to be able to see your daughter follow her joy, because that's the biggest honor that we can give Source as sparks of Source, is following our joy, following our intuition, because that's what we're here for. And
Right,
we've won the
exactly.
lottery being here. I mean, it's so exciting to be on Earth at this time.
Right. And there's no path that you have to take. That's the thing that people need to understand. We don't need to do this the way the cookie cutter, that people of this reptilians have made us think that.
Ah, seriously. Yeah, I mean, I would have never thought, even 3 years ago, I would have never thought that I'd be an alien content creator, primarily like as my one identity, I guess. Never in a million years. Like I was climbing up the corporation ladder, right? And yeah, it's just I busted out of what I like to call the matrix, and I hope that other people do.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, it's so fun meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you so
This
much
is
for
so
having me.
so fun.
Yes.
You're my new friend.
Yay.